In his budget speech, the Minister of Finance, Melusi Gigaba, announced a 1 percentage point increase to the value-added tax as part of government's tax proposals for the 2018 budget that are designed to generate an additional 36 billion rand in tax revenue for the 2018-2019 year. The minister also said that the National Treasury, in close cooperation with the Reserve Bank, the Financial Intelligence Centre and the South African Revenue Service, is taking several steps to detect, disrupt and deter illicit financial flows. So to talk more about the budget speech and SARS tax revenue expectations, in studio with us we've got Dr. Randall Carolissen, who is the head of research at the South African Revenue Service. Good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning.
A busy week for all of us here, especially on budget week for you as well.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting times, I think, although it's difficult times for South Africans. This increase in VAT, whichever way you look at it, it is going to hit us.
Yes. Yeah. Now, it's some bitter medicine that we have to take, unfortunately, to bring our financials and our fiscal framework back to stability again.
Yeah.
And so that will create the necessary confidence for people to come back and invest. And already we can see that uptick in investment. We can already see some green shoots in the economy since December. So, yeah, it's a very exciting time for SARS.
So that Ramaphosa effect hopefully is working and the investors are coming back, which you yourself were saying. 2017, let's go back there, for SARS wasn't such a fantastic year in terms of revenue collection. What do you attribute the shortfall to?
So first of all, at the time when the estimation was made, there was a high expectation of economic growth, at 1.3%. And so, as the year progressed towards October, we then quickly realized that the economic projections were not going to realize, and therefore it was actually revised down to 0.6%. And we also saw job losses in the market. We saw people cutting back on expenditure. So people just started to pay off debts as opposed to shopping more. And all of those effects then had an impact on the different taxes. We could see that in domestic VAT. We could see that in the pay-as-you-earn, which had been the mainstay of our collections for a long time. And so, therefore, the 50 billion downward revision was absolutely necessary. Now, those were not the only factors. There were other factors as well. I mean, taxpayers' compliance started to slip. You know, people don't pay over the taxes that they collect on behalf of SARS. And then also we had the challenges with the adverse publicity towards SARS. We can talk about that a little bit more if you wish so. And all that culminated in a 50 billion rand downward revision. So what we saw then subsequent to that, we saw an uptick in the economy like we just discussed. And we already are seeing an uptick in the economy, and as well that effect rippled through to the taxes. So we are much more hopeful than we were last year.
Well, I'm glad you're open to talking about the corruption, because I think that that's vitally important, and many South Africans feeling that their taxes are not being utilized in the manner that they should be, because it's not to the advantage of all South Africans. It seems to be only to the advantage of a few, and that is a very, very big problem. How can you reassure the taxpayers that their money is now going to be used properly?
Well, first of all, a large part of tax morality stems from the perception of the taxpayers, as you rightly point out, that they want to see the money well spent, they don't want to see corruption, they don't want to see the wastages and poor service delivery. And those factors were real in South Africa over the past few years. And therefore, the new approach that we are now seeing, the new political certainty, the new policy certainty, the business confidence that's going up, all of those factors meld together and say to us that we are on a new growth path and that things are going to be a lot different. Also, what's very encouraging is the fact that our infrastructure is now going to be much more, shall we call it, project-driven, as opposed to this loose infrastructure spending that we had over the past decade, which amounted to 2.2 trillion rand, and which we didn't see exactly the return on investment. So those factors all play out in taxpayers' minds when they decide to pay or not to pay tax. But I'm happy to say that most taxpayers actually are doing the right thing. I mean, we don't collect 1,200 billion rand if people are all just thrown in the towel.
Indeed. But, the other, I think, aspect that really did damage SARS was, of course, the whole Gupta family business. And the reality that SARS, I suppose the question to you is, have you opened up your own investigations into the tax evasion? I mean, we've seen the NPA, Asset Forfeiture Unit, talking about possible money laundering from the assets of the Gupta family. Are you investigating them as well?
So you see, it's easy to talk about individual taxpayers. In fact, we're not allowed to do that. But what I can assure the viewers here today is that SARS is indeed open itself up. First of all, let me just quickly talk about the Commission of Inquiry. It's absolutely necessary that this Commission of Inquiry happens. No tax authority can operate efficiently under the cloud that we are currently existing. So that has to be cleared. People that have erred must account for what they've done, and so that we can get on being good technocrats, like that's what we paid for. So once that cloud is cleared and there's a perception of fairness and an establishment of fairness, that taxpayers feel that everybody is treated equally, then you can start to talk about moving forward on tax morality. So that's critical for us. And so, therefore, without having to venture into individual taxpayers, that is certainly the commitment that we have now at SARS, and that we are going to go for very, very unashamedly.
Yeah. What about these instances, and we see them happening quite often, where people are found and caught at our airports with large cases that are stuffed with money that is leaving this country, and a lot of people saying that it's destined for Dubai. How does this kind of criminality affect SARS revenue targets, and have you progressed in tightening these border controls?
So first of all, as we're tightening electronic flow of money with the Reserve Bank, it's becoming more difficult to move it through the official channels. And so you're right, people then start to cash smuggling. In some way, we've geared up our dogs now to also smell cash, which is quite interesting. But we have to clamp down on that, and we have to make sure that we cooperate with our partners on the other side, where people smuggle this money to make sure that we get hold of them. A very interesting development that is taking place now recently is with it's the Panama Papers and the Paradise Papers, where we get a list of South Africans that have offshore wealth, which is undeclared. And we've opened up a window for these people to come forward, and we had 2,000 applicants over the last year. And from that 2,000, we've processed about 900, and from that 900, we expect to realize 3 billion rand just this year.
Yeah.
Now, it's becoming increasingly difficult to maneuver and manipulate offshore wealth and move it around the world, because we have all these international agreements that are coming into place now. And so the quicker we get our cash economy reduced, the more difficult it will be to smuggle money out of the country. And that's a challenge faced by all countries, not just South Africa. Incidentally, Japan has got the highest cash economy in the world, which is counterintuitive. And so we have to do all these things that are scientific and that are will make it much more difficult for people to smuggle money. Yeah. Cryptocurrency is another issue that we're grappling with.
It's a very big issue. I think we need to dedicate an entire section or interview to the cryptocurrency, which in fact was even mentioned by the minister during his speech, which was quite interesting. Just finally, I mean, Jacques Poe hit on a very big nerve with SARS in his book, The President's Keepers. Are you concerned about these reports that SARS is assisting underground crime syndicates to evade tax? I mean, this is there in black and white.
Well, look, it is concerning if that is going to be allowed to continue in people's minds, that is the organization that SARS stands for. SARS don't want to be seen like that. SARS wants to be putting forward, and that's why I keep on emphasizing this Commission of Inquiry, that we get the facts on the table and deal with the matters so that the tax authority can disappear from the political stage and do its work, but that it's being paid, that we are being paid for, and do it effectively. I mean, the country's finances depended critically on us being optimally functioning authority. We collect 93% of government revenue. I mean, it's a national asset that we need to protect at all costs. And so, yes, we need to clean up the air, we need to remove the cloud, and we need to get our act together.
And perhaps new leadership.
I wouldn't venture down that line, but we need to.
Yeah. All right, let's leave it there. Dr. Randall Carolissen, thank you for talking to us, Head of Research from SARS. Send us your views if you'd like to. SARS, what are your perceptions of SARS here in South Africa? Let's take a break. Language, under the spotlight. Palesa will be in discussion about trying to get all official languages, 11 languages, into the schooling system. Do stay tuned.